So when they do presentation, on the bottom, it says share screen. Will you
Yes.
share screen just to,
Yeah. Before I start PowerPoint or after? Okay. Different spot. Oh,
Okay, 7 p.m. We're gonna call the council meeting for Thursday, March 28th. To order. Before we begin our meeting, we'd like to acknowledge the Stuart of Mi'kmaq, an ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Welcome everyone attending in person and joining in by Zoom. We have all councilors present. I'm looking for approval or changes to the agenda.
Did you want me to add a couple and defer that one?
Yes, that way,
Okay.
Councilor, yes, please.
Okay, so if I could add, under 8 written petitions and correspondence, 8A would be the 5 page correspondence from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honorable John Lohr, regarding the new service exchange agreement. And 8B would be, again, from the Honorable John Lohr regarding the new Department of Nova Scotia Guard. And I have been asked to defer 9B, the first reading for Perry Lake Development Phase 3.
Any other changes, Mr. Madison? No. Okay, with that motion, seconder, please.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Lutz. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick explanation on the deferral was at the request of the developer that go back to PAC with different to look at a different zoning category for that, so that will be going back to the April planning advisory committee.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Looking for a disclosure of interest on agenda items. Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item number 5, and it's approval of minutes for February 22nd, 2024, 5A.
I just have a question, and it's regarding our reports. I know that we've been sending them in to staff. I'm just wondering why they're not being copy pasted and embedded into the minutes instead of having separate pages. Because it probably takes just as long to copy and paste and put it on a separate page as it does to copy and paste and embedded in the
We
minutes.
can do whatever council wishes.
I just don't like, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it embedded in the minutes.
You go around the table, council.
Well, yes, I'd like to see it embedded in the record.
In the record, yes. Consensus?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
That, if we can have that change for the February 22nd regular council meeting, I'll make the motion to approve the February 2022, 2024 regular council minutes. We approved.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, seconded. Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. 5B. Approval of minutes for March 20th, 2024, and that was for a special meeting.
Just a couple of changes, one, my name. Unless you're angry at me. And two, the second motion, actually, I didn't make that motion. I do believe that was. I have it. It was actually Councillor Rogers Lang that made the second motion and Councillor Luce seconded it.
For the returning officer.
No, for the ballots. Attorney officer is correct,
For the hybrid ballot.
for the ballots, yeah. And with those changes, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for the special meeting of March 20th, 2024.
Moved by Councillor Osborne, again, seconder, please.
Second.
Second by Councillor Lutz, discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. We have no announcements, but we do have a presentation tonight. Please to join, or to join, to be joined by the owners of Big River Cafe. We'll just give it a minute. We're gonna sit up here. And welcome. And you can stand up here if you want, or wherever you're comfortable with.
We'll move back and then I don't have my back to you. We don't want to stand in front of it.
Why is it hiding that icon on me?
We'll get there.
Bear with an old one.
Perfect. Well, good evening, councillors, Mr. Mayor, everybody in attendance here tonight, and everyone joining us online. My name is Camille, and this is Renee. We are, of course, the owners of Big River Cafe. At the last planning committee meeting, we chatted a little bit about our story, about the community we built with our customers, and about our plan and our hope, to move into 12 Main Street and how we would be able to better serve our customers. There were a lot of really good questions asked during that meeting, and a few concerns have been brought up. And tonight, not only would we like to provide you with more insight on our business and the strategy behind it, we would also like to state how Big River and the owners of 12 Main would mitigate those concerns. Now back to business. When we initially were starting the business, we were advised that the first 5 years of business are to make it or break it. And with that happy little tidbit of information, and with planning to open during a pandemic, we're like, sure, let's throw ourselves into the world of entrepreneurship. But we had a plan. We had a 5-year plan. And our dream was always to have an indoor location from the get-go, but the way that we opened was very strategic. And it allowed us to test out the market. It allowed us to get to know our customers, understand what they're looking for. It allowed us to learn who we are in this community as a business. It allowed us to try so many things and fail and try again and succeed. And over the past 2.5 years, we have done so much. And we truly do understand what our customers are looking for in our services and what additional services we would be able to provide them, given the opportunity to expand. And so, in order to keep up with demand, we have made very good use of that building. We use every square inch. It is small, but it is mighty. We use the green space to run the vendor markets. We've used the building in Dennis Park to operate the canteen. We've done that for 2 seasons. We regularly make use of the kitchen in the community center to expand our capacities. And all of this time so far has been a big time of reinvestment into the business. Every single profit we've made so far has gone back into the business, has gone back into this community so that we could try all of these things and experiment. And over the past 2.5 years, we've collected that data to be able to move on to the next stage of our business. And so this time of reinvestment, it was a sacrifice that our families were willing to make when we realized early on that we had like a strong forecast for success in this town. And around 2022, we decided to take looking into expansion more seriously and dive into that. We looked at a few options here in Stewiacke. We started sitting down with our advisors, talking to our financial advisors, and what the conclusion was there was that we would not be able to build anything new and or purchase like a new property or a house. What we needed was an existing property that we could rent. That's what Big River can do. And so that took a few options out of the running at the time. We, just to get educated, we explored the possibility in Maitland, we even went as far as downtown New Glasgow to entertain an opportunity, and coming back from that, we were just honestly a little heartbroken. I think it would have just been a huge mistake to consider expanding outside of Stewiacke first. We're only at this point of growth today because our customers have just been so loyal to us. And we want to give that back to them, give them what they've been wanting for since the get-go, which is the indoor location. And so coming back from that trip, we doubled down on our efforts to find something suitable for the expansion of our business, and we connected with the owners of 12 Main. And so tonight, with this presentation, our goal is to describe to you what expanding into 12 Main could look like for Big River and the impact it would have on our community. Next slide, please. So our why are we doing this? Why do we wake up every day and head to the cafe? This is before we bought the building and turned it into the cafe. This is before Renee and I met. When I moved here and I was done with school, I was done with my co-op and spending more time in the community, I was like, something's missing here. Like there's like, where's the hub? Where do I bump into people? Where do I start getting that community connection? I'm like, oh, it's a cafe, like cafes do that. And so that kind of just sparked a little idea in my head and continued working locally and went on mat leave, and I was coming off mat leave. I was like, it is now or never. I'm gonna be too scared to do this down the road. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it now. And I really dug deep and I was like, why am I gonna be continuously motivated to do this? And I remember driving through Stewiacke, downtown Stewiacke for the first time, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like Stewiacke reminds me of Big River, where I grew up, and Bathurst as well. When I was a kid, I go with my brothers to Glendenning's Canteen down the road, and they would just treat us like family, even though we were being way too rambunctious. And I remember Papa Joe's Diner, where you'd walk in there and they'd known you since you were toddlers, and you'd walk in and they just know exactly what to cook you because your order never changed. And you were just taken care of. And I remember the little gift shop where they'd also make fudge and like just like slip you a little piece of fudge in the back of the counter. When my dad wasn't looking, I realized now he was totally in on it. But it's just these connections that you make with these folks, and they're very fond memories. And I think about how Bathurst has grown so much since then, but all of the businesses that I talked about and so many more are still in existence today, because they understood that small businesses make up the patchwork and the character of a small town. And although, you know, it has grown quite a bit, there are big box stores that support a growing community. Bathurst has invested in their downtown economics to make sure that small businesses are continuously supported, and that's an enjoyable experience for residents and small businesses. So that's my why. I want Big River to be a part of creating those fond memories for people of all ages here in Stewiacke. And if I could do this for the rest of my life, I would. I really would.
And for me, my why kind of started when I went to school at Dal in Halifax, and don't get me wrong, I'm a country girl at heart. It was like my first big city experience, and so I really enjoyed my time there, and I came to Stewiacke, moved here when I got married, and I was like, I'm just missing something here. There's something that I'm not quite jiving with. Not that, like, I really enjoy the town, but it was just like, there's something that I'm missing about city life, and then it hit me, it was the cafes. I used to spend so much time in the cafes as a student. I'd go there to study, just to get out of the house, to look at something besides the four walls of my house, and have someone else treat you for a change instead of you trying to make your own coffee or sandwich. So that was really, and then I was like, I just want to be a part of that cafe though, because Stewiacke needs it, and if no one else does it, we're gonna do it. And I want to be a part of it, and that's my big why.
Sorry, just go back to the other slide real quick. So, why expand? Our pilot project has run its course. Everything we wanted to know about it, we know. We've collected all the data that we need to project a successful expansion. We want to be able to continue doing community work in a more impactful way. And creating community no matter the weather. You know, things are a little tougher for us in the winter months when it rains. So to be able to have that consistency for our customers and ourselves would just be fantastic. Next slide.
So we're just gonna give you a little background on Big River and where we've come from. So we started with a tiny little shack, we're just a cafe now, and we started there with just our basic tea or coffee, tea and baked goodies, and people were like, hey, we wanna grab a lunch from you. So we got into sandwiches, breakfast. We just started doing soups and touching on take-home meals in the last couple months. We've added more deck seating over the years. We started operating vendor markets in our green space, which have created opportunities for first-time vendors, and also a lot of vendors have networked through these events and found other opportunities. We've operated the ice cream canteen for 2 seasons now, and that was us becoming mentors and employers to students in the community, so that's been great. We started catering this last year, we started coffee breaks and have done lunches and business events, and I'm hoping to do a wedding this fall if we can expand. And we're always very local with what we do. So we support over 20 plus people locally, and we can do more if we can expand. And we also, this local thing creates, for the community of Studiac, it creates them a great spot to get local things. They know that they can get it for us, and we feel great because we can in turn support more local people. And then those local people can turn around and support Studiac, and we kind of create this circle of support by being local people together. Next slide. We also did a quick little survey that will last over our social media, just to kind of get a feel of where people were coming from us, and we could, of course, put a huge red heart on Studiac and Colchester County, because that's primarily where our customers come from. But we also get people as far as the South Shore, the Valley, Amherst, Cape Breton, and then that's not including the people from New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. And mind you, a lot of these people are passing by on the highway, but that's just it, they're not passing by anymore, they're coming in, they're stopping in to say hi. Yeah, so we've been operating for 3 years and the momentum is strong, so we know that the time to expand is now, and if we don't do this momentum now, we will lose it. So we've done the work, we've looked at different opportunities in Studiac that we could find, and all of them have kind of fallen short for other reasons until we came across 12 Main. We found the owners, we approached them, we asked them if they were open to us being tenants, and they were. And then we have gone in there, we've measured the house, we've made sure that we could fit a kitchen in there, we made sure the parking is in the back. We've also talked to building inspectors, food inspectors, everything can be done there. All that's left is to get it rezoned. And so we thought we'd give you a quick little view of what we're thinking operations will look like. This is subject to change. So the bottom of the screen is the road, and then the top of the screen would be the backyard. So the top front of the house would be where the kitchen is, so no public transport or traffic through there, that's just staff, and then the main entrance is up on the side. And then as you can see, that kind of big L shape is where our kitchen would be, and the red square is what our current kitchen looks like. So it's quite a bit smaller, it's about a third of the size. So this expansion means big kitchen space for us, that is our big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next slide.
Yeah, so like I said, our pilot project has been a success. We've collected data. Now, what's this data? It's what kind of baked goods are people looking for? What kind of services are people looking for? What kind of food are people looking for? And when we project, for an expansion, we base that off of the customers that we currently have. Like, sure, it'd be nice to gain a few extra customers, get some tourists in town talking about Studiac, getting all excited. But if we're gonna do this properly, we have to rely on the customer base that we have built in the past 2.5 years and all the additional services that we would like to provide them. So of course, an indoor location, we would have indoor seating. We would like to expand our menu to include more breakfast items, more sandwiches and soups. We'd like to introduce salads. That's been a big thing that people are looking for. Take home meals, you know, we tested out soups this winter, it has been a huge hit, people are buying 6 of them at the time to put in the freezer to bring home to their elderly parents. It's great for elderly, for young families, or just like anyone who just wanna have, like, make dinner that night. So yeah, that's what we're looking to do when it comes to expanding our menu. We'd like to expand on catering services. You know, we have at least 1 or 2 catering events every month now. We dove right into that. However, we can be quite restricted in what we can offer. So given a bigger kitchen, we can offer more. We'd like to start wholesaling our products. We have customers who come from Cape Breton twice a month and come get our cookies specifically and buy a big batch of them so they can make it through. So we would love to get our products outside of Stewiacke. What really excites me about catering and wholesaling is that we can get Stewiacke's story out there and show them how proud we are of being from Stewiacke. Expand on local retail, just more space, more shelves, you know, be able to support more companies that way, more pantry items, that are created locally and just those craft items. With this expansion, we would be able to, create at least 2, rewarding employment opportunities, career type, opportunities. We would also, of course, hire our summer students. And if the business needs it, just continue growing our team and hire locally. And, yes, the indoor location, the biggest thing would be to provide a sustainable and consistent income and to provide that consistency for our customers.
We just wanted to address a few of the concerns that we've heard over the last month about us expanding to 12 Main. One of the things is the owners of 12 Main are happy to install a privacy fence between the neighboring properties. If we would like to continue organizing markets, we are more than happy to talk to the town how that would look like at the current location, green space. We are very well aware that they would not work at 12 Main. And we just want to address traffic a little bit. Big River's peak operating times are between 10 AM and 1 PM, so they're well out of the rush hour times. They're when people are already at work, so we don't believe we would contribute majorly to traffic.
We approached our neighbors, who are currently, and asked them if they would just provide a statement on what being our neighbors, look like. Jim, who owns the Airbnb, said that it's been a pleasure having us as neighbors and that we benefit his business by providing his guests complimentary drinks. What's that, sorry? Oh, 2 minutes, okay. Great. The tenant next door to us, has never had an issue with us being too noisy. The folks in the front, one said he was apprehensive about, a cafe moving in front, and that quickly went away when he realized just how, oh my gosh, sorry. Just that we weren't contributing to noise or, infringing on their privacy. And what's really interesting is Matthew here works for Engage Nova Scotia, and if you want to flip to the next slide. Engage Nova Scotia conducted a study here in Stewiacke in 2019. And they studied the happiness of communities, and 2 of their results found that people here find themselves to be very sociable people, like folks, you know, you would stop on the side of the street and chat. And what was also really interesting is that there was a lack of sense of belonging. And so I find it very interesting to see now if they would take that survey again or do it in a couple of years if those results would change. We also wanted to get statements of support from people in the industry.
Yeah, so Jason Steele, we've been working with him for the last 1.5 years. He helps us with our business development, and he just has been very upfront about us using the momentum that we have, because if we don't use it, then we will lose it, basically. And if we really, it's crucial for us to expand for this next high season so that we can continue that momentum into our low season in the winter. And he also, sorry.
Sure.
He also states that 12 Main is very, keeps the vibe of our current location, the cafe.
We had a chat with Alain Bossé, otherwise known as the Kilted Chef in the Maritimes. He does a lot of consulting work for like businesses similar to ours all over the Maritimes. And what we really bonded with was the fact that cafes and these small town restaurants can really transform a community. And he emphasizes that, when they are downtown, it becomes a focal point of gathering for people coming off the highway and coming to experience the town. And yeah, if we get to expand, he's just, he would be thrilled to be able to come down and see how we develop our culinary skills. You can go ahead to the next slide. And we had a sit down with Andrea McDonald, who owns, Abalone Retreat, and she's had a wonderful experience, growing her business here in Stewiacke, and she's very grateful for where she is now, and she understands the weight of considering what is best for your business, what is good for the town, and what is best for your customers. So having a chat with her was comforting in a sense for her to have gone through that same experience. And she's also just really excited for our customers to have the possibility of experience that hospitality from us. Next slide. So in closing, we're trying to figure out how to wrap this up. And we thought that we would read a few excerpts from our business plan because it's reviewed every year, it hasn't really changed much. But it's something that we go back to when we feel like we need to get grounded, we're a little stuck, and I do appreciate that we're kind of at the end of our time here, so I won't read as much as I plan to. But really the essence since like 2019, when we built this business plan, is that we want the cafe to feel like a family cottage that you're coming to for a special getaway, except you can forget the travels because it's in downtown Stewiacke. And we've seen firsthand what bringing people together can do, and now it's time to make Big River a permanent part of Stewiacke's downtown. We believe that coffee brings people together and that cafes have a way of facilitating conversation and new ideas. Supporting local business is crucial to community development and prosperity. When supporting small businesses, you're supporting your downtown area and you're strengthening your local economy by having people who live locally spend money in businesses where the owners also spend their money locally, and in the mix supporting all the local vendors and small businesses that they support. Additionally, the local economy is strengthened by visitors who make a point of stopping in, spending time and money in the downtown area. Big River Cafe might be a recent addition to the downtown of Stewiacke, but the concept of a gathering space filled with good food, stories, and connection and community is something that's been crucial to communities and villages throughout our history. Small businesses make up the character of a small town, and we know that with the passion behind the brand, we'll make Stewiacke proud of its small mom and pop style cafe. And so we thank you for the opportunity today for us to, share our vision about our future business, and we hope that we have effectively shown you the value that Big River has created in this community and the value that it's given us. And if given the opportunity to expand, we will ensure that we continue to serve our customers in this town with dedication and care.
Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Sorry, for shooting.
Oh, no, you're fine.
You're.
I could chat about this.
I'm gonna open up to the floor to answers any questions I'd ask. You just start and go around one at a time and try to keep it with, timeframes here and not put you on the spot. I'll start with Councillor Lutz.
What is your timeline for getting 12 Main up and running? Like, how long will it take to get into?
More of a, you
So,
represent the owners.
yeah, so that kind of, the last stage of this, assuming all goes, approval happens here, then it goes to a hearing and it comes back to you guys for a final say. The contingency, it all depends on how, that has to go to the province, so we're not sure how long they could take. I don't know if they're just a pencil whip or they actually do look at it thoroughly. That could add a couple months just in itself. So you're looking at 3, 4, it really depends on the province, like the province of which one.
I don't have any questions right now.
Councillor.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Dr. Buddy.
I have nothing right now.
Councillor Osborne.
Nothing, just a statement. I think I've said it before, Big River Cafe has grown and it certainly is a community of its own. And I've been to your markets and I know the feel down there and it does remind me of when I was small and growing up here and the community feel that was there then. And great presentation. Thank you very much for coming.
I have one question. You said 10 to 1. Are you looking at keeping those within reason for that 10 and 1 o'clock? If you.
So those are our peak times, yes. Our planned operating hours would be something like 9 to 4, which is very similar to what we do now. Currently, like our high season hours are 8 to 3 and 9 to 4 on the weekends.
Is that year round?
Year round, yeah.
Thank you. Great presentation. Okay, moving on to 8A, and we have the two correspondence that were quickly brought forward. We'll move into 9 business. And so,
Just, I don't know if there's anything.
oh, sorry, yes,
People have on there.
any questions in regards to those two correspondence? Or comments?
Two?
Yes, there's two, one's one pager and one is a.
Oh, the MOU?
You have that one. You don't, anybody have that one?
Come in late at that, and then second one.
No, some services, yeah, American Services, just briefly, after many years of going at this to post 1995, when the last major service exchange happened, there was an attempt 2012, 2015 that fizzled out, primarily over the roads, as it usually does. It's come up many times through some of the disillusions of the small towns, which I lived through, trying to get agreement on roads, fizzled out. So it's finally come back on with some momentum and so now between the province and NSFM. I don't get used to the new acronym. So I have worked out an agreement over a 5-year period to try new funding formulas between the province and municipal units. Again, keeping some of the old differentiation between towns and rurals. For whatever reason, no one's going to let any of those go, but they're going to change the formulas. This just went today. I haven't had a chance to go back and compare it to the old formulas. It's been a while since I looked at those and try to see where it is. The big positives in the short term are we will no longer be responsible for paying for a portion of the deficit of the regional housing authorities, which there's never been any accountability for in recent years. And corrections, again, something that we had no control over whatsoever. So those will be gone with some commitment to keep the foundation grants in place for these 5 years till I see how this formula works out. Some talk on what happens with provincial roads. Ours is in a somewhat unique situation. It's not going to be touched over this initial period. There may be another negotiation happen. There are a few towns that have roads with unique situations compared to other towns, Studiac being one. Port Hawkesbury is another one that I know of. But whereas most of the towns were having to pay for maintenance of all numbered provincial roads going through their towns, we haven't been as yet. So that something on that front may happen in the future. There's a small infrastructure fund that's provincial only, but it's when you look at all municipal units, they're only sharing in $15 million. It's not gonna add up to a whole lot for small towns. So that type of funding will again be primarily dependent on big announcements from the federal side that they'll convince they can convince the provinces to share it. So that's just a preliminary read through. It went at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I had a couple questions for our municipal advisor just to get some clarification. The intent is not that no one's current funding will be reduced over the 5-year period till they see how they formula. So you may see a different number in a different category, but no one's will go down. It can only go up for changes in this period, but that's, the large sum, the sum of money they've set aside, it's whatever the formula, that's the only sum that's there to divide amongst the units when they do it at this stage.
Quick question. So, I know when we were doing our budget, I had mentioned that the housing and the corrections would no longer be, an expense for us, which I think it adds up to around $83,000, if I remember correctly. So I know we don't have any budget meetings set up, so would that mean that our operating budget would need to be reallocated for that $83,000 no longer being an expense?
Yeah, well, it's, once Randy's back from location, we'll go back and put numbers in. Get some confirmation on a couple of these and then
So could we look
do the
at,
draft and try to get it back on for the committee of the whole.
could we look at a reduction in the tax rate?
Well, we'll give you the options, we'll show you what the potential surplus is after that or result. We'll show you what the numbers work out to, and that's what that will be your decision where you want to go with that.
Any other comments, council, or questions? Thank you, Mr. Matthew. Well, quick reading for you at the end of the day. Okay, now we'll move on to 9A, so that's recommendations.
Well, there's the other one as well.
Oh, one of the revisers, I'll go back to number B.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
So this is an announcement, there's been talk earlier leading up to this one, we knew something was coming on this one because they've been interviewing some of the first responders on the news, saying that they're on this new volunteer list, so they've not formally announced it. Now the province says that they're creating a special group of volunteers, community volunteers, to deal with emergency readiness because of the increased frequency of natural events, whether it's climate change or otherwise. But we're certainly seeing the ramping up of those events, whether it's hurricane or fire, et cetera. So they're trying to be make it more provincially coordinated. Now, whether that means they'll be overruling some of our regional emergency measures by trying, it sounds like they may, so there may be a little less autonomy on how we deal with things, I suspect, but with the goal of having some uniformity across the province. So I think is where they're going, but the devil will be in the details, which we don't have yet. So.
Yeah, if I might, the premier was on the news tonight, and that's exactly what he was talking about, was pooling resources through the new Department of Nova Scotia Guard.
Any comments? Now, we move on to number 9A, so recommendations from the committee of the whole. And before you, the first one is the new police advisory board. It's in your package. Comes in a motion for a start, I'll open up for. Or ask that motion, I'll ask for discussion on the table.
Can you just refresh it just a bit, because
So the
I-
motion before you will be that the town of Stewiacke start the implementation process of its own 5-member police advisory board. And further that the town requests permission from the Minister of Justice to extend the deadlines to December 31st, 2024, following the 2024 municipal elections. And this was in regards to the ask and then granting of Colchester to break away from the town of Stewiacke as a joint police advisory board.
and the original deadline was,
October, I believe, was it?
what was it, June?
No, September. There was one letter come out that had June in it, but that was a
Okay.
mistake.
Yes.
Department of Justice in one paragraph said June, and then another paragraph in the same letter said September. They confirmed it with me. It was September, but they want an update in June of where we stand, so, and we'll, if this motion passes tonight, I'll be next week sending the letter asking for the extension to December, so that we're not appointing members and training members and then having to appoint and train new members immediately thereafter.
Can you just find out for clarification, because if we don't have a police advisory board, like what happens in that interim? I know we talked about that at the committee of the whole.
Technically, the current police advisory board must meet.
The current one, which is the one that's
Joint
joined
one
with
with
the county.
Colchester, yes,
Oh,
is the technical language in the act, but like many other things in provincial legislation of these natures, there is not much of a penalty clause unless, for example, the minister at one point hadn't appointed a citizen. or a representative, their representative to the committee, so they weren't even following the process. So it is. There's no such penalty clause anywhere in there that says if you don't, presumably the minister can just order something to happen in policing unilaterally without consulting, I presume, if there's no police advisory board.
Okay.
And I had that conversation with the minister, when we did the interim search for Mr. Madison, the same discussion. My concern was, again, appointing someone to that position and potentially having that all or some of those persons, no longer be part of that. So just for clarification, the motion is to put it on the record, but no, until we get more,
Well, the motion is to form our own board
essentially.
with 5 members, because you have 2 options, a 7-member board or a 5-member board. Where we only have 1.5 officers, or 1 point, whatever the number is, so it seems like overkill to have a 7-member committee to direct a force of that size.
I'll make that motion. The town of Stewiacke start the implementation process for its own 5-member police advisory board, and further that the town requests permission from the Minister of Justice to extend the deadline to December 31st, 2024, following the 2024 municipal elections.
Moved by Councillor Osborne, a seconder, please. Second by Councillor Roger Lang. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 9B2, number 9A2. Atlantic Mayor's Congress, you have a motion before you that the town of Stewiacke continue membership in the Atlantic Mayor's Congress. Before I call for that motion, if not for discussion. Councillor Brennan.
If I may, as I wasn't here at the committee of the whole, and missed out on that discussion. I'm, somewhat on the fence as to the benefit of it, so. I guess I'm looking for a little bit of input.
Councillor Osborne. I'll come back to that, Councillor.
I guess I want to talk about the benefits of it a little bit too.
Okay.
And from my perspective, it's another avenue where we're at the table. I know there's many members that haven't been able to attend an SFM or an FCM and see the benefits of going to those conferences and potentially bringing back funding for the town. When I sat previously, our mayor and myself had opportunities to go, the former mayor. And we always brought back a report. I think many people know around this table, I always bring back at least a 2 or 3 page report if I go to an NSFM. In those reports, talk about different funding streams that you get to know. And the only way you get to know is if you're there. Because if you're not there, you don't hear it firsthand. You hear it after the fact, after it's been announced, but you get kind of a heads up because you're talking with other people throughout the province that may have different connections that you have. It also gives the person the opportunity to represent the town, but also hear what other municipalities go through. I know one of the things that when we go to Calgary, there is a study tour on a wastewater, on the water treatment plant. Now, I'm not one that normally wants to go to a water treatment plant tour. However, they draw their water from the river. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do it, how they process their water, what's their quantity, what's their quality, and bring that back to the table. So I think having another avenue for the minimal cost that it is, even if we only had one funding stream come, it would pay for itself over and over again. So I'm very much in favor of being at another table and being able to potentially bring back more to this town. It's not about an individual being there, it's about the town being there and being represented. And I think we just heard that from the presentation earlier tonight about showing the story of Stewiacke and being able to to present Stewiacke, that we are growing, and this is what we have to offer.
Before I answer Council Brendan's question, anybody else?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I brought this forward, this was back 2 years ago. The intent was to bring the town of Stewiacke to the table. Two things I've gotten from that, and I shared that 2 weeks ago. It's an advocacy-based program, and we are at the table with 49 other municipalities. And originally, they would not let any municipalities under 100,000 to be there, and I had a real concern with that. Was invited to speak to say I felt discriminatory, and from that, it opened up so that, for example, Kansas is now joined. So I think I've done my part to bring it to council, and tonight, council made a decision, do you want to stay at the table or not? And it's pretty much that simple. There's pros, there's cons, but it puts us, as we are growing, at the table at the Atlantic Mayors. And I did get clarification, I sent around, it's $754, it's a one-time membership. Not just one person, because they are going to open up to have CEOs again, starting in June, in Summerside. Zoom option, Councillor Roger Lang asked, you'd have the option to watch what's going on, so to speak, the presentations, but not have a vote. And there is a question I have not got an answer on. When I went to Amherst, the vote to bring a motion forward for the Isthmus of Shenectady, I felt I could make that vote for myself. I did not have permission from the town to make that vote. Some municipalities felt the same, some didn't. The majority overruled, and from the Atlantic Mayors, a joint statement was made. That has not been, I guess, finalized. So it's a bit of an iffy, but again, you'd have to have consensus if you're representing to have that vote. So that's something you need to tidy up, quite frankly. Hope I've answered that question, Councilor Flynn.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is, and I certainly, understand where Councillor Osborne's coming from. I'm concerned about how much we spend on all conferences. So there's this one, UNSM, FCM. I understand we have to learn, we have to be at the table. But I haven't, I guess I'm not sold on the amount we're spending versus what benefits I've seen myself coming back to us to guide us. So that's where I'm coming from in my question.
Very good point.
I
Councilor,
can ask the question. The motion regarding the Isthmus of Shenectady. That was just a statement, or did it go to the provinces, like the?
it did go to the provinces, but it was a statement only because it was not, there's not a majority for the motion itself. And that's where the kind of back and forth has been, Deputy Mayor. So a statement was made on behalf of the executive, but not from the membership committee. There was plenty of debate back and forth, but that means there was approximately 40 plus members, and there was no consensus. And that's one of the things they're bringing forward in June, Summerside. Because there is a change with the, at one time it was only mayors, now it's mayors and wardens. It's going to be opened up to CEOs and eventually, as it grows, to councillors also. So the same synopsis as you have for SFA.
So if I can ask one more question, when we receive the notice of what the agenda is going to be, if that came to council, we could perhaps give the voting mayor some direction as to, yes, we're for it, or no, we're not, or whatever.
And that's, I actually had a conversation with Greg Powell, he's the new executive director, exactly that same way, whether we're there or not, going forward. That's just process for me.
Mhm.
And that's a very good point. So you have that consensus. If you don't, you're out there, making an I statement when you really know that I don't believe that authority to do that. So
Thank you.
so I'll open up for either a motion or to rescind that, or not rescind it, but not take a motion before.
I can make a motion. I move that the town of Stewiacke continue membership in the Atlantic Mayors Congress.
I'll second that.
Motion was made by Councillor Lutz, seconded by Councillor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
Questions?
Question is a call. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is defeated. Thank you, council. We are moving into. That's this up today. He's not under there.
9C.
No, I see. So we're looking at the first reading for the land use bylaw amendments, 12 Main Street West, and that's in your package also.
Please,
Good evening, Mr. Cook. You here?
Yeah,
sir?
yes, can you hear me?
We have, and thanks for your patience.
Okay, no problem. I think probably you've gone through the amendment. It's just the ability to to rezone 12 Main to allow for a cafe and a few other uses of similar to kind of uses. And it's and then that gives the rest of the folks, residents in the area, the opportunity in future, if they so choose, to apply for this. It's a special commercial zone called C3. And I just want to make just ask. I would like to make a slight change in one of the requirements. I put some requirements in there to mitigate the effect on adjacent homeowners. And one was having a maximum size, and I picked 100 square meters, which is about 900 and some square feet. And I'd like to make that 120 square meters. Not much of a change, but I just like, if anybody's have any objection to it, I don't think we need a motion for it. Just acknowledge that would be a change if the amendment goes forward. And the other.
It would be
Oh, way down. Okay.
9.3.2.
Okay.
I believe we're somewhere below here there.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, sorry, 9.4.6.
Oh.
Sorry. That's
Point
would-
six.
the second last page. We'll be back.
So how many feet is that? What did you say again? 40?
Instead of 100 square meters, I'd like that to be 120 square meters, which would make it from 100 or 1,000 to about 1,200 or so, 1,200, 1,300. Not a big commercial space anyway. But I think we probably want to have a restriction on the amount of commercial space or in this area. We want to try and keep this area as a residential appearance. That's the idea behind this, a residential appearance area. You'll notice there's some restrictions, some signage there. A fence required for adjacent users to screen from adjacent residences rather. So there's a few restrictions in that zone which are designed to help mitigate the effect on adjacent residential uses actually.
Grant,
Yeah.
it's, sorry, Councilor Rogers Lang.
Yeah.
At the PAC meeting, we had discussed, and I believe what was recommended to council, the outcome of it was to not rezone just 12 Main. It was to rezone from the number 2 highway down to Riverside.
Yeah, well, we could have done it that way.
That's what was voted on though, because that's what I voted against. So that was the vote and that was the recommendation to council. Was the whole thing, not just 12 Main.
Okay, so do you want to make that change? That'll be this all of that area, and in some ways it doesn't really make any difference because the residential uses are permitted in this C2, this C3 zone. So in some ways it doesn't really make any difference. I just thought it might be better to do the rezoning for one, and then people could come and ask for rezoning for the other if they so choose. But if you prefer to have it as a C3 zone for the whole area, that's fine too. It's the same. They have the same rights. They're permitted. Residences are permitted. It just means if somebody else wanted to convert, they wouldn't have to go through a rezoning process. So
Right, it's not a preference. I'm just saying that was the recommendation and that's what was voted on at PAC.
Okay. That I could make that change.
But does PAC not need to make that recommendation to council that it's just 12 Main? Or do we
Really?
override what PAC is recommending to council?
It's a recommendation.
Yeah, we can override it. In theory, yeah, their recommendation is just a recommendation. I guess,
Recommend.
so.
Is there a question, Mr. Best?
Yes, but it becomes a point if there is an appeal. Well, of course, this is both, it's both an MPS and an LUB. As I understand, if you're doing both, it becomes non-appealable. If I understood our solicitor correctly, I'll speak on a different issue. Grant may be able to elucidate further on that.
Yeah, I heard the discussion and the motion, and I was at Zoom, so I maybe got it wrong, and I did circulate what I thought was the motion to the PAC, and I didn't hear any challenge to that, I guess, until right now. I think the motion was we would rezone 12 to the commercial zone and allow the rest of the area, the residents in the area, to reapply for a rezoning at some point if they so choose.
Go ahead, speak.
Yeah, and again, the effects aren't much different. It's really not a
And
material
that's-
difference, to tell you the truth.
Councilor Osborne.
good.
Councilor Osborne, for the board.
So I am extremely confused. Because I did attend that PAC meeting, and I did attend the open house. And it was very clearly stated at the PAC meeting that the motion was from Riverside to the highway number 2, that it was going to be the whole area.
Okay,
So-
can I jump in there?
Absolutely.
I will agree with you. That's the area that is affected. And there's two ways you could go. You could zone just 12 Main and have the rest of the area be eligible for the same zone through rezoning, or you could zone it all C3, and it still permits residences. R2 uses are still permitted in the zone. It just saves a rezoning application later. So there's not much material difference between the two.
So if there's not much material difference in the two, then basically what you're saying, and this is Councillor Osborne again, basically what you're saying is that whole area that is residential right now, in essence, would become commercial, regardless if we just do one parcel, one PID, or not, because the other PIDs around it would be able to apply because they're in that same zone. Is that my understanding? Because I think there was some confusion on that too, and I'm really muddy right now.
Yeah, go back to Mr. Best.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm looking at the minutes of the PAC. February 21st, the motion, and these minutes were approved. On motion of Ron Colpitz and Charlene DeCon, it was moved that the committee recommend that council begin the process of rezoning the property at 12 Main Street to accommodate the relocation of Big River Cafe and provide for similar opportunities for other residential properties in the area. So that was what the original motion of PAC was. So I just provide that for so you have that information. Because obviously there's maybe some confusion, because I think the plan is more, the strategy will allow for the C3 in that area. The rezone, and it only applies to one property at this time.
So specific to that site or that 12 Main Street. Okay.
But it would set a precedent that others in the area.
Yes.
Now, I wrote it down that night, and it says rezoning from Highway 2 to Riverside with special conditions, Ron and Charlene. And I specifically remember it being the whole area because Councillor Rogers Lang said no, and PAC member Dave LeBlanc said he was not going to vote for it and then voted for it. And it stuck in my head. So I guess this goes, have those minutes been approved by PAC in March?
Yeah, I think they have been, yeah.
Yeah, yes, it would. Yeah,
What? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, they've been heard, so. So if they're approved and brought forward, I think we have to, that's the reasonable, Mr. That's.
Well, that unless you're amending the
Unless we're
motion that's coming
Yeah.
forward,
Get forward.
that, unless you amend the motion, that would be the motion you're voting on.
It's brought forward.
But we,
Should be that way. If a recommendation is made by the committee, it's approved in minutes, that is the motion that should come forward to council.
so if, am I correct as Councillor Osborne that it doesn't really matter, it's the whole area regardless whether it's one area or not? Because I do remember a PAC member asking that, and it was not very clear. Now, Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying it really, in essence, is the same thing, whether if we rezone one PID or do the whole area, because the other properties in that area can ask for the same zoning, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
But would it not make a difference if those other properties remained residential for their, like, if we just rezoned the whole area, then those other properties could be affected mortgage or property values or et cetera, but if it was just the one property that was being rezoned, then the other ones would remain as a residential area and.
I think because the thing is, if somebody else in that area wants to come and open a hair salon or whatever, we can, but we
Yeah.
can't say no because we've set a precedent and
Right.
allowed somebody else to do it. So what's good for one is
Right.
gonna be good for
But
other
if-
people.
If somebody, if it was just a commercial, somebody could knock their house down and put a apartment up with a.
No, because we have the
Oh, right, the
specifications,
specifications now,
yeah,
right.
what they can and can't do and
Right.
how it has to look
Okay.
and so on and so
Right,
forth.
it has to go through the-
Mhm.
okay. So but it would remain residentially zoned for the owners of another adjacent property. They would stay residential, their insurance rates wouldn't change because it's now commercial property, their mortgages wouldn't change because it's now commercial property, because they still have a residential property.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's Councillor Osborne, and I apologize because I am very, very, very confused, and I probably have more questions than probably what I should. But I am very concerned that the residents of this town are not, because if I'm not clear, how could they be on what they were speaking to, either at the open house or at the PAC meeting, what they're hearing? Because I clearly heard that it was for the whole area, and Councillor Rogers Lang, who was at the meeting, says it was for the whole area. But yet we're hearing it's now just for the one PID. So I'm really, really confused, and I don't know if we should revert back to PAC for clarification, because it does make a difference when you talk about traffic. It does make a difference when you talk, especially, you know, when we look at the communications that were provided in our package. It appears that everything is talking about the whole section. So. I'm
Okay,
so lost. I'm just confused.
Yeah, maybe I can try to clarify that. Let's suppose we go with the rezoning to 12 Main, right? The rest of the residents have the same rights to have that zone. They can apply if they meet the requirements. It's a matter of just, approving it. If they can't meet the requirements, they won't apply. If we rezone it all to the C3 zone, all it's eliminating is them going and applying. So it does eliminate a step for them. They still they have a right to go you know, the same kind of commercial use with the same restrictions. It just eliminates rezoning application, which might be a good thing. So I think council has the authority right now to decide which one they want to go with. It's really, tell you the truth, there's not really much difference, except it stays a step, because this C3 zone allows residences. Yeah, they'll be zone commercial, but they're permitted use of the commercial zone. Their assessment won't change. It'll still be assessed as a residence. So it's just a matter of making it a little easier, I guess, for people to, if they so choose, to have a commercial use in their of this type on their property.
So here's my concern though, Grant, and it's Councillor Osborne again. My concern is for our town residents. What were they thinking, or like, you know, when they provided us comments, were they thinking it was for the whole zone? Like like from the Highway 2 to Riverside, or were they thinking it was just for the one pig? Because from reading the comments that are in our package, it looks more like it's about the whole zone. Because it talks about the break, it talks about the common,
Yeah.
I am concerned that our town residents are then not going to be heard, because they may have a difference of opinion if it's only the one pig.
I hear you, Counselor. I myself, as chair of this, is that we had a motion brought forward from planning and advisory, and that motion was passed by the committee and brought forward.
Yeah, so now it is, whether council wishes to move and pass it as it was, or in the package, or whether they wish to amend that they are going to rezone all the properties, but that's probably not something I would recommend. If there is confusion, they would have the ability to apply to go in that zone, as the motion from PAC says. It seems to be as the PAC is the more prudent method to go, as opposed to just telling everyone they're in a commercial zone automatically.
Holistically.
Yeah, they are still recognized as being in a residential zone, but they can apply to have their particular property zone commercial. And allows you to look to make sure that they meet the condition.
I feel we have to bring forward what was brought forward in writing. And then, as you said, there can be a change made or adjustment to that motion. Councilor Freeman, before I cut you off.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I can ask the question. But to the councillor and mayor who sit on the planning and advisory committee, I guess I'm looking for your feedback, input, whatever
My understanding was it was the whole section. That being said, that meeting went in circles for a very, very long time. There was a lot of very different discussions. Denver Levy, for one, I believe, spoke a lot about that whole section. Then we jumped back to 12, so perhaps I was confused, but I did find the meeting was very.
So do you have an opinion, and again, maybe I can't ask you this, but as to whether it's all of that section or just 12 Main?
I think based on what we're hearing is it doesn't make a difference. So I don't know if I have an opinion whether to do it all or to do the one, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, okay.
And Paul, Councilor.
If I could jump in here at the public session we had on Saturday.
Grant, excuse me, just 1 second.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Please. So there was conversation at the table, and Councilor Lang, you did bring that forward. I guess my concern is the motion was brought forward, it was carried from planning advisory to the table. So there was consensus, or a motion was brought forward and approved and circulated. I'm concerned we're getting bogged down a little bit on the, whether it's one Pacific or not, but I certainly hear what you're saying in the synopsis of what happened at that meeting also. But looking at what was brought forward. I think we have that in the package as it was brought forward from planning advisory. But there was a lot of discussion at that point. Mr. Cook,
Yeah, yes, I just wanted to say that at the public meeting, I think the folks realized that the whole area was affected and the whole area could become, could have a commercial use as per what that zone says. Whether it's whether it was done all at once or by each one coming forward individually and rezoning it. So really, as somebody said there, it doesn't really make any difference. I can verify it doesn't make any material difference which way you go.
okay, with that, I'm gonna call for a motion.
I don't even know what motion we're making.
It's in your package,
Not making.
number 3, amendments to municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. These only at 12 Main Street, and it's at the very island council rules. Number 3.
Yes, so the motion in the package reads. The council accept the recommendation of the planning advisory committee and give first reading the proposed amendment to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to establish a new commercial zone C3 and zone the property at 12 Main Street to this zone.
So that's the motion I'm looking for, excuse me.
Well, I'll make the motion so that it can come to the table for discussion.
Okay, Councilor Freeland made the motion, the seconder. I'm gonna call for it 3 times. Second call for a seconder. Third and last time, call for a seconder. Motion's seated.
Could I make a suggestion that this goes to PAC because it's just too muddy?
I don't know if we can once it's.
Well, council can direct as it wishes. If council considers, if you want further information on it, it would be appropriate to refer it back to PAC.
So if the mayor, do you want that to be in order to refer back?
Yes, I'd like to know exactly what was said, what was voted on, the whole, because as I say right now, I just,
Otherwise, PAC has no direction to act.
okay.
Do you want to do a motion?
I
Do
don't.
we have to do more?
It should be.
I move that, we refer back to BAC, the discussion on 12 Main.
Doesn't even Deputy Mayor Chapman.
I'll second. I'll second.
Second by Councilor Osborne, discussion of the motion.
Question.
Question is called, all in favor? Opposed? So moved. Okay, we are at 9D, and that's first reading for land use bylaws, height restrictions in the downtown. And again, I'll go back to Mr. Cook, please. Go back to you, Mr. Cook, for. number
Yeah,
9.
I think this one's pretty straightforward. It's short, to the point. The committee made a recommendation that the maximum height will be 4 stories. So there's policy in the MPS and the requirements in the land use bylaw for 4 stories. I think it's 12 meters and 4 stories. I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Councilor Osborne.
I just have a very quick question, extremely quick. So back in the fall, I believe we had a recommendation from PAC for 3 stories. So what happened to that?
Well, I think the second motion supersedes the first one.
It never passed.
Didn't pass.
We did nothing with it at the council table, I knew that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Okay,
This new motion would take precedent over that former one.
and so this only takes effect after so many days, is that right?
Yeah, well, the next process, this is just, letting it go to the public hearing stage. So at the public hearing stage, which will be sometime in April, I would think, then people have a right to come and it has to be advertised in the paper once a week for 2 successive weeks. And, council will hear at the public hearing, or there'll be an opportunity to do submissions before that. And then after the public hearing, council can either vote on it or defer it or turn it down.
And this is just for the C1 zone downtown, correct?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, I just see, it says C2 zone, so that's why I'm asking.
It should be the C1 zone. If there's C2 zone there, it's just a typo. The downtown zone is the C1
It's on
zone.
that motion.
Just from the-
All right, I'll make the motion. I so move that council, oh, sorry, unless there's,
Any more discussion first?
I'll make the motion. I so move that council accept the recommendation of the planning advisory committee and give first reading to the proposed amendment to the municipal planning strategy and the land use bylaw to establish a maximum height of 4 stories in the C1 zone. Staff are hereby directed to set the date of the public hearing for these amendments.
Moved by Councillor Osborne, seconder, please.
Second it.
Second by Councillor Roger Lane. Discussion on the motion.
Question?
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Councillor. Number 9E, interim budget approval. Back to Mr. Madison. And Mr. Grant, thank you.
No problem, yeah.
Mr. Cole,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And I do take the responsibility for some of that confusion over that First Amendment. So I think that you decided to take that back to the PAC.
That'll be April 18th.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard. It's been going in and out, but yeah, I think that's what you decided, right?
We did, Deputy Mayor Chapman, forward the motion was unanimous to get back. Full clarification.
To the PAC, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
right, thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Yes, so the question was asked prior meeting and I've gotten clarification. Not every municipality does it, but the municipal affairs does consider it good form to put an interim budget authorization. So we're recommending that the town of Stewiacke authorize an interim operating budget authorization of
You can tell
$650,000.
they're conflicted about that one.
Mr. Cook, I think you're still on.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No problem.
All right, I'm gonna leave now, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So $650,000 for fiscal 24-25 to continue existing services until the detailed operating budget is finalized. So it's approximately 25% of the budget, so we can get the darn thing in place before the end of June.
Councilor Freeman.
So in the past, we've done this before, and what we've done is 50% of the previous year's operating budget.
I just don't want it to go that long.
No, I don't either. I don't want us to
Yeah.
get cut down like we're doing the state.
Well, you can always make another motion if there's an emergency.
No, that's
I
fine.
want to keep the iron in the fire to make sure we
Yeah,
get this done.
that's fine.
I'll make a motion. I move the town of Stewiacke authorize an interim operating budget authorization of $650,000 for fiscal 24-25. Continue existing services until the detailed operating budget is finalized.
Let's move by Deputy Mayor Chapman, a seconder, please. Second by Councilor Roger Lane. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? So moved. 9F, CEO recruitment update. Back to you, Mr. Madison, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I was in contact with Pastor Lawyer Thompson this afternoon. for an update. They are continuing the search. They're happy to report that they have at least two excellent candidates to bring forward on a short list. Potential of a third that they've talked to, that they're going to talk to further. And they have some other preliminary interviews scheduled next week that they're going to talk to people that fit within budget parameters that we've talked about. And very good qualifications, so that I think we're all pleased that they've got some candidates, quality candidates to bring forward to the committee in April.
Oh.
Questions or comments, council?
Quick question. You say in April, so does that mean like that you'll be doing, like, the hiring committee will be doing interviews in April?
There's a meeting where they will bring the short list forward, April 9th is when a short list, they will discuss the short list with us on the 9th. And then with the plan we have held,
22nd and 3rd, maybe?
yes,
24th and
24th,
25th.
right, right. Yes, ma'am. For a couple minutes.
I have the 23rd on hold in mind. So,
The last of April.
and then possibly the 24th. So, yeah, someone may pull back and say one of those days is unavailable, and I still had the hold on it, so, yeah. So it is that week that the actual interviews would happen.
So on April 9th, I know the mayor's away because he has sent us his availability already. Is Councillor Philman
She
available?
hopes to attend by Zoom,
Oh, okay.
and she'll have information to review as well. I'll provide feedback.
I will not. Mr. Madsen will contact me when I check my emails, texts every 3 or 4 days. I will not be part of that process on the 9th.
So should they wait until all the committees here
Well, I think, if they're strongly recommending a candidate, I don't think we want to hold off on that and say we don't want to interview that person just because one person's not here. So I think we would go ahead and schedule, and we will schedule them for when the full committee's here.
or? Oh, okay.
For the actual interviews, we're not gonna actually be talking to the candidates on them.
Oh, okay.
This will be meeting with the recruiter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Any more comments? Okay, moving on. Number 10, by law and policy, we have tonight, policy. Check for citizen comments.
So citizen comments, if people have a comment, wish to make, if they would put it in the Q&A section. The chat is disabled, but it works on the Q&A section. So we'll allow a couple of minutes if anyone has a comment they wish to make.
Okay, Mr. Madison, seeing none, moving forward. My reports before you, just had a couple of highlights, chaired the planning and advisory committee meeting March 20th. Also, chaired the special council meeting at the same time. I attended the bylaw and policy committee meeting on the 21st. 23rd, had a privilege to attend the ball fields and the fun things I get to do with you as councilors and This was a wonderful event for the children in our town. It's well organized by Student Recreation, and thank you to Aaron and to Ben for all you do above and beyond. It was a great day. I love the smiling faces. It's a highlight. 27th, I attended an audit committee meeting. This 27th, I also attended TELUS Health EAP program, the employee, extra E there, assistant program webinar. Something that counselors and staff can tap into. I've used in my previous life. I would strongly recommend it. I signed a letter on behalf of town council thanking Darren and Sherry Schreiber for the donation of pictures of Stewiacke from their previous Foodland location to our town. They're in storage right now. They'll be spread out through the properties. And again, thank you to Darren and Sherry for that. My weekly meetings continue with Mr. Matheson, and that is the end of my report. I go to my left, Deputy Mayor Chapman, please.
Just a verbal report. I attended a Parks and Recreation meeting on 26th. And I just wanted to send a congrats out to Andrea McDonald for her latest award. Andrea owns Abalone Retreat on Riverside.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Lewis.
On March 27th, I attended an audit committee meeting.
Okay, Councilor Osborne.
I just wanted to, mine's very short, just in addition to my committee meetings, I assisted staff with the Easter egg hunt again this year, and it's always a wonderful event, it's a wonderful turnout, and I love assisting the staff with that.
Okay, Councilor Lewis. Councilor Brennan.
I just have to send my regrets for April's committee of the whole, as I'll be at the Masters Curling Championship in Quebec.
And I should note that for the record, I also will not be here at 9 from out of country, and Deputy Mayor Chapman will assume my duties as relevant to that. Thank you, council. We have no in camera. Looking for a notice of motion for consideration. Hearing none at 9:25, we are adjourned.
8:25.
9? I was like, it's not 9, is it?
I'll step back at 8:25, we have 26 almost. We are adjourned.
What, in Quebec, Susan?
I don't think she needs luck. She's pretty good on her own.
Yeah, well,
Nothing to do with it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Prayer maybe, but not luck, right?
Competition, I think.